Trump was proven absolutely correct. Hillary was always crooked. The system was always rigged.
It's illegal, and it's really very unfair to Bernie Sanders.
This is a real problem. We've got to hold this party accountable.
Terrorists continue to plot against the United States. We cannot unilaterally disarm ourselves.
This plan is for the middle-class families in this country who deserve a break.
While Republicans ambush the American people with this half-baked tax bill, written in the dark, it raises taxes on the middle class.
Don't laugh. It's yours. It's yours.
Good morning to you. It is Friday morning. You made it to the weekend. A live shot of New York City. They're unseasonably warm across many portions of the country. Good morning to you wherever you are waking up. You're watching Fox and Friends. First, I'm Heather Childers. Well, straight to our top story. You heard some of it right there at the beginning of the show. This is real collusion. Overnight, President Trump demanding an investigation into bombshell allegations that the DNC rigged the nomination for Hillary Clinton, just as Bernie Sanders supporters suspected all along. Jackie Ibanez is here now live for us with more. And this really was remarkable. The more that it came out yesterday and the more people appear to be jumping ship a little bit.
It's one thing after another, right, Heather? It's crazy. All right, well, the system was rigged. Those are the bombshell allegations from the former interim chair of the Democratic National Committee, Donna Brazile, scorching Hillary Clinton in a new book about the 2016 election. An excerpt from the memoir published in Politico says that under her predecessor, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, quote, the DNC was rigging the system to throw the primary to Hillary. Overnight, President Donald Trump demanding an investigation, tweeting this is real collusion and dishonesty. Major violation of campaign finance laws and money laundering. Where is our Justice Department? Brazile reports the Clinton campaign raised $10 million to retire 80% of the party's bank debt, but demanded a steep price, writing, quote, in exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised. That agreement, according to Brazile, coming 4 months after Hillary announced her candidacy and nearly a year before she secured the nomination. President Trump sitting down with our Laura Ingraham, wondering if the media will cover these new revelations. Listen.
It's a major story. Now, I don't know if the mainstream fake media, because they are fake and phony, but I just don't know if they're going to pick it up. But I want to tell you, that is a big story, what she's saying. It's illegal, number one, and it's really very unfair to Bernie Sanders.
Democrats also exposing the massive split within their own party.
You have got to put together a Democratic Party in which everybody can have confidence that the party is working for Democrats rather than Democrats are working for the party.
Do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
And in a statement to Fox News, Debbie Wasserman Schultz says she's proud of her work at the DNC. The Clinton campaign didn't respond to our request for comment. No comment from Bernie Sanders either. And no word on if Brazile will mention in her book that she used her role as a CNN commentator, as you remember, to steer CNN debate questions to Clinton in advance, Heather.
Yeah, quite a different story that she's telling now in the book versus what she told while the campaign was going on. She said no collusion, we're being
Awfully
fair.
strange she's coming out with all of this right now.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Warren too. So
that's different.
I'll be interested to see who sells more books. What happened with Hillary Clinton or what happened with Donna Brazile?
Come out with these books.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jackie. In the meantime, the bombshell revelation sending shockwaves through Capitol Hill. Former Utah Congressman and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz, who led the investigation into Clinton's role in Benghazi, says it's not just about vindication because these allegations could be criminal.
The reality is Democrats were in debt. And so, yes, most members, including myself, have done joint fundraising agreements. But what is markedly different and totally unacceptable, and I believe could potentially be money laundering, is to put into the contract that that money then would go back to the DNC and essentially be under Hillary Clinton's control. There are reason there are campaign finance limits in there, and this looks like a very concerted effort to bypass all of those so that she could maintain control. That's you can't do that. That's not only unethical, but remember, Donna Brazile is calling this proof, using her words, not mine, proof that this thing was rigged.
So what do you think? Should the Justice Department launch an investigation? Let Jackie know what you think by joining her on Facebook Live, Instagram, and Twitter, and we'll share some of your thoughts later in the show. We always enjoy that segment. But now some other news. President Trump calling
Kevin, by Thanksgiving, that's possible. It will be the biggest tax reduction in the history of our country.
But in some other news, President Trump calling the GOP tax plan a big, beautiful Christmas present for Americans, promising that it will help those who need it the most. Griff Jenkins joins us live from Washington, D.C. to break down the plan. Good morning, Griff. You standing by?
Good morning, Heather. It hasn't been done in over 3 decades doing actually tax reform, and they want to get it all the way down as simple as a postcard. Speaker Paul Ryan says this brings that much needed relief to those who need it most.
This plan is for the middle-class families in this country who deserve a break. It is for the families who are out there living paycheck to paycheck, who just keep getting squeezed.
So let's take a look at what's in it. For individuals and families, it reduces brackets down to 4, 0, 12%, 25%, and 35%, while leaving 39% as the top rate. It nearly doubles the standard deduction, $12,000 for individuals, $24,000 for families. It increases the family credit from $1,000 to $1,600, and it leaves the 401k rules intact. Now, on the business side, it slashes the corporate rate from 35% to 20%, cuts the tax rate on small business income to 25%, eliminates incentives for sending jobs overseas, and it repeals the death tax after 6 years. President Trump says it's so good, he told Laura Ingraham it may get Democrats to support it.
It's an honor to work with my fellow Republicans. I think we're going to actually have some Democrat support. I think it's going to be very, very hard for them not to support it.
But Democrats wasted no time blasting it.
This is a shell game, a Ponzi scheme that corporate America will perpetrate on the American people.
One thing is crystal clear. This plan is a tax burden that ought to be on the backs of the wealthy and the biggest corporations, but instead it drops it squarely on the backs of the middle class.
So it's out there. Now the next step is the House GOP will begin marking it up and withstanding those lobbyists and special interests who will try to have their say in it. President Trump actually tweeting overnight that lobbyists are storming Capitol Hill, but Republicans, Heather, are standing firm.
All right, the debate is just beginning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it after the next commercial break. Thank you so much, Griff. Appreciate it. Well, how about some other headlines for you right now? Fox News alert breaking overnight. ISIS claiming responsibility for the deadly terror attack in New York City, calling the driver a, quote, soldier of the caliphate. The terror group praising suspect Sayfullo Saipov in their weekly newsletter, claiming that he hurt or killed 60 people. In reality, 8 people died, 12 others were injured. Well, police say that the Uzbekistan native was inspired by ISIS and had 90 propaganda videos on his phone. Brian Yannis will have a live report for us from New York with the latest on the investigation, and that's coming up for you in just a few minutes. Well, the man accused of gunning down shoppers on the Walmart checkout line is captured. We told you about this yesterday. We now know his name, Scott Ostream. He was driving past heavily armed Colorado police officers just seconds before his arrest. Now, the suspect walked off his job as a roofer hours before the shooting, and court records show that he was a failed businessman who was $58,000 in debt. Police are still searching for a motive, though, in the attack that left 3 people dead. Well, disgraced Army Sergeant Bo Bergdahl could learn his fate as early as today. A military judge is deliberating after defense attorneys asked for no prison time in closing arguments. The prosecution wants 14 years in confinement. Both sides recommending a dishonorable discharge. Bergdahl got choked up, apparently, and he could barely say yes, sir, when the judge asked if he understood that he would likely lose his benefits. Bergdahl faces life in prison. Last month, he pleaded guilty to desertion after leaving his post in Afghanistan back in 2009. Well, former Trump campaign chair Paul Manafort and his associate Rick Gates will remain under house arrest at least through the weekend. The judge deeming them flight risk and also considering a gag order in the case. Manafort and Gates are the first to be charged in special counsel Robert Mueller's probe into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Both will return to court on Monday when the judge will consider their release, although Russian collusion and President Trump not mentioned in any of those reports. Well, it is the day that Apple superfans have been waiting for. The iPhone X goes on sale all around the world. Now, the much anticipated and latest edition from Apple, drawing huge crowds and long lines overnight, thousands lining up for hours to get their hands on it. The new phone has wireless charging, has facial recognition, we've told you about it, has no home button, and it costs $999. Basically $1,000 there for your phone. Well, the time now is 11 minutes after the top of the hour. And coming up, outrage boiling over after some high school kids are given a math problem about 9/11. Well, this morning, the school responds. And Democrats freaking out over President Trump's tax proposal.
It's designed to offer what appear to be enough crumbs for some middle-class folks.
But have they even looked at the plan? Our next guest has, and he will set the record straight. We're breaking down what you need to know. And forget weighing your luggage. One airline now putting you on the scale. What? Stay with us.
Middle-class families and borrows trillions from the future just to give massive new tax breaks to the wealthy.
It's designed to offer what appear to be enough crumbs for some middle-class folks.
You're a big corporation. You're a wealthy individual. You do great. You're a middle-class person. You suffer.
Really? How so? Democrats slamming President Trump's historic tax plan, saying that it will raise taxes for most Americans. And here to set the record straight, CPA and business analyst Dan Geltrude. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you.
So we said we'd have you back after the actual details of the plan did come out. What did you think, first of all?
Well,
what you expected?
Yes, it's what I expected because it is a middle-class tax cut, and I think they achieved that.
Yeah.
Look, we have to be realistic. Not every single person in the middle class is going to get a tax cut, and there's been a lot of talk out there from the left saying this is going to be a tax increase for the middle class.
Let's take a look at that. Okay, while you're talking about that, because we were just discussing in the commercial break, I'm not sure how they're seeing that, because if you look at the new tax breaks or tax brackets themselves, you'll be paying 12% if you're married and earn between $24,000 and $90,000. If you're single, between $12,000 and $45,000. Then it goes up from there, 25%, and then from there, 35%, and then the highest earners, 39.6%. compared to 12% at the lower end.
Right. It's absolutely not true.
Right.
The high income earners
are paying more.
Are going to pay more. They're certainly not going to pay less. And if you look at how those rates are broken down, the middle class is going to pay less. By and large, not in every single case. Every tax return is different, highly individualized. It depends where you live.
Right.
If you're in a high tax state, it's a different story.
And that's a big issue with this for a lot of people. Those of us that live in New York, New Jersey, and you were saying you actually have a business plan that would work.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about this because I was actually doing my own tax return yesterday to see how the plan was going to affect me. And we talk about the tax code picking winners and losers. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on the losing side. So I said, how do I turn this around? Here's the idea I came up with. I moved to Florida. No income tax there. That's for starters.
Right.
I form a corporation, get favorable tax treatment that way. And then I'm going to start a moving company to move people from New Jersey and New York down to Florida. Huge market for that with the mass exodus that's coming.
So where's the incentive here to A, pay your bills, don't owe any debt, and then earn more money? Where's the incentive to do any of that?
The incentive is not there for that. What we have to look at here is this is really an economic plan, primarily geared towards corporations, creating jobs. And that's why they keep talking about a tax cut. It's really not, because the cuts are not that great. It's really an economic plan. It's about creating more jobs through the corporations, because that's where the biggest tax reduction is.
So the corporate rate would go from 35% to 20%. That's the proposed thing. And then amongst some other details in here, as we said, it lowers the number of tax brackets from 7 to 4. Supposedly that's easier for people to do their taxes themselves, save money there. And then the maximum deduction for state and local property tax will now be $10,000.
That's the killer. When you're talking about states like New York, New Jersey, California, if there was ever an incentive to move out of those states to go to Florida and Texas, now is the time, starting in 2018, because those are legitimately tax increases by losing those deductions.
Right. And this is still up for debate now. They can make some changes before it's fully approved, but you think that won't happen?
I would say this is pretty close to being in stone. Let's call it quick dry cement. I think it's going to stick. If they think they're getting Democratic support, there's no way. They'll have more Republican defectors than they're going to get in Democratic support.
Yeah, so they should have pushed from some bigger changes since they weren't going to get Democratic support to begin with.
Should have gone big and bold.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll have you back, of course.
Great.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes after the top of the hour. And political purge, we've gotten used to politics taking over Hollywood award shows, but the Country Music Awards has a message for the media. Not here. Plus, President Trump's Twitter account vanishes. Wait till you hear how this happened.
I miss you, yeah, I miss you, I do. I miss you, yeah, I miss you.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. First, a teacher is now under fire for a controversial math problem about 9/11 attacks, which asked students to calculate the time that it took for one of the planes to strike the World Trade Center. Obviously, there's a lot of reaction to this on social media. Carly Shimkus from Fox News Headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115 is here with the backlash. Carly, who in the world would think that this is a good idea to begin with?
A lot of backlash to this one. Parents in Massachusetts left outraged after a teacher at Newburyport High School asked students to solve a math problem using specifics about 9/11. The superintendent there is now apologizing, saying this assignment was not intended to be disrespectful. This was an exercise of poor judgment by the educator who intended to use the historical event as a mechanics to engage students in a thoughtful discussion. People on social media, though, calling this unacceptable. Christy says so inappropriate and offensive to some of us who lost a loved one. Their last 45 minutes on Earth have been reduced to a math problem. Not right. Lauren on Twitter also says, who on earth does anyone think this is remotely okay? And any fan says the stupidity of people never fails to amaze me. Who on earth thought that was a good idea? You know, Heather, what's worse is that this tragedy, of course, hits home to this town because one of the high school's alumni actually died during 9/11. So completely inappropriate.
Unreal. I mean, that first tweet, the last 45 minutes of their life
really sums it up.
Released to a math problem. It's crazy.
Absolutely.
All right, so I heard about Papa John's. They're saying that they've taken a hit because of the NFL, but now some other pizza companies kind of fighting back against that.
Yeah, we are actually seeing the politicizing of pizza. Papa John's, after their CEO said that the NFL's national anthem protest is affecting pizza sales, other pizza restaurants are now fighting back. The Yum Brands CEO, Greg Creed, Yum Brands owns Pizza Hut, says we're not seeing impact on any of that on our business. He told that to investors. And then take a look at this tweet from DiGiorno's Pizza. Better pizza, better sales. Can you believe that? And then a popular sports Twitter account tweeted this funny gif of people just hurling money at Pizza Hut after the Papa John's said what they said. So I've never had Papa John's pizza. I can't attest to how it tastes, but I would be willing to do a taste test.
I've had Papa John's. Papa John's is pretty good.
Really?
Ham and pineapple,
I would never turn down a slice of pizza.
All right, well, we'll do a taste test if they're watching. So finally, Twitter flipping out because somebody went rogue and took down President Trump's account.
That's right. The president's Twitter account was deactivated for about 10 minutes yesterday, and people on Twitter went wild. Now, the company is explaining what happened. They said earlier today the president's account was inadvertently deactivated due to human error by a Twitter employee. The account was down for 11 minutes and has since been restored. We are continuing to investigate and are taking steps to prevent this from happening again. Well, now we know that that Twitter employee was on his last day on the job. He was headed out. This may have been the last thing that he did.
Trying to go out with a bang and make a statement.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you so much, Carly.
Thanks
Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Well, the time now is about 26 minutes, specifically after the top of the hour. And the terror attack in New York City, it is shining some fresh light on the controversial diversity visa lottery program. And now President Trump wants it shut down.
This kid came in through a lottery system, and I think we're going to get even Democrat support on this.
So is this program the loophole of all loopholes or the key to keeping our economy going? Our political panel on deck up next to debate it. Welcome back to Fox and Friends First, 4:30 in the morning here on the East Coast. And we're back with this Fox News alert for you. ISIS now claiming that it was behind the bike path attack in New York City, calling the killer, the terrorist behind the wheel, a soldier of the caliphate. Brian Yennis joins us now live from the scene with some new information this morning. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Heather. Behind me, a memorial set along the bike path, 8 crosses for the 8 victims of this terrorist attack. This as New York City responds to protect its citizens, installing dozens of new concrete barriers, some large and some small like these, to prevent trucks and other vehicles from being able to enter the bike path along the west side of Manhattan. This, as you said, Heather, Reuters reporting that ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack in its weekly Al Naba newsletter Thursday, though ISIS did not provide any evidence. The group called the attacker one of its caliphate soldiers. Investigators say the suspected terrorist, Saifullah Saipov, was radicalized in the United States, inspired to attack by ISIS propaganda videos. Now, investigators still believe Saipov acted alone, but the FBI has questioned his 32-year-old Uzbek friend. He's not being called a suspect, but Saipov reportedly called this man immediately before the attack. In a statement, the friend saying, quote, "It is so sad and unbelievable. This, not from our religion. It is not acceptable. We, as Muslims, completely reject this kind of actions. No human being who has a heart can do this." Meanwhile, chilling new details from a man who was driven by Saipov 5 days before the attack. Saipov was registered as an Uber and Lyft driver. The 34-year-old British designer and his girlfriend were picked up at Newark Airport in New Jersey by Saipov.
It was weird because we'd been in the taxi with him for, it was about an hour, the journey to the hotel. So we talked for a long time. Like you get an idea of a person. He seemed absolutely normal.
And Heather, the NYPD is getting ready for the New York City Marathon, doubling sniper teams and observation teams, as well as blocker vehicles, the most ever deployed for this event this weekend. Heather?
All right, Brian Yennis live for us. Definitely ramped up security this weekend. Thank you. Well, the attacker here in the U.S., you've heard about this, on a diversity visa. So is it time to shut that program down? Here now to debate is co-founder and CEO of CN Plus, Lily Gil Valletta, and liberal analyst Kathy Aru. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Kathy, I'll start with you. The diversity program itself, basically, it's a lottery system that allows people in here at random. What do you think about that? I mean, should it be shut down in light of what's happened?
It shouldn't be shut down. This is a terrible thing that happened, but this program has brought in over 1 million people since it was brought into legislation in 1990. It was created in 1990. We have about 1.3 million people that have come here, and this is the first time we hear of someone abusing this. So crazy is crazy. He was an immigrant brought in on this program. It should be improved. Eliminated, no. Maybe we should know who they are. Maybe we should make some tweaks, but to eliminate it, it's not American. It's anti-American to be anti-immigrant.
Right. But Lily, doesn't it just have to happen once, like what has happened here? I mean, as Kathy said, maybe look at some changes to this and put our security first.
Absolutely. This program is the loopholes of loopholes when it comes to immigration. I am a big believer of immigration. I am an immigrant myself, but this one does not give entry based on any family ties or skill-based or merit. So why are we taking 50,000 of these visas and not reallocating them instead to the many PhDs that are not able to stay because there's a cap on immigration or other types of immigrants? We're trying to find a solution for dreamers right now. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm actually glad that we're having this conversation so people understand that immigration is not only broken on the undocumented side, but also on the legal immigration side. So I rather we make some changes here because immigration is good for workforce development, economic development, and this one is literally raffling access to the United States.
And on that point, economic development, Kathy, we want people to come into this country who can contribute, who can do a job. So what's the problem with merit-based immigration?
Nothing's wrong with that, but this one, we're not saying they're not contributing. 50,000 of these people that come in with these visas.
But it's not based on merits at all. It's just a lottery system.
But they are contributing. We haven't heard anything negative from these people. They're actually coming. They're bringing their families. They are contributing to our system. There's nothing to say otherwise.
Okay, bringing their families, that's a whole nother issue, which we don't have time to get into. But the fact that he had these 23 people through this chain migration, he was their point of contact to come into here. And I know there's going to be a lot more said about that. Let's move on to this other topic, though. Lily, I'll start with you. The former interim DNC chief, Donna Brazile, says that the Clinton campaign took over the DNC. It was really remarkable. Quite a different story that she's telling now. Lily?
Yes?
Yeah. Could you hear me? We were going to talk now about the DNC and how Donna Brazile is now coming forward and saying that it was rigged, basically for Hillary Clinton.
Oh, well, I think we need to get over this rigged or not fact. What happened is what happened. Here we are. America has voted, and we need to move forward with solutions. We need to move forward with collaborating across the aisle instead of pointing fingers. So it is the time to just accept what has happened and find ways for us to get stuff done in Washington and stop reflecting on what's been done or try to continue to make the news cycle with it. So I just hope we can get over that particular fact.
Kathy, what do you think? I mean, is she just trying to make the news cycle, or is this something that was very wrong? I mean, Bernie Sanders, we said it then, didn't get a fair shake. Now, apparently that was true.
Right. I've interviewed Donna Brazile for the Washington Post when I was covering the White House for the Washington Post. And she's a smart woman. Maybe she's trying to get some publicity for her book. Who knows? Maybe had Bernie been given more support, maybe he would have won, because we do know that the Democrats did come out and vote, and they voted hard. So I don't know. I don't know what's real or not here.
Right. A lot of people saying that actually agree with you, because it's quite a different story than she was originally telling. So there's more to come on this front for sure. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Lily Gil Valletta and Kathy Aru, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, just days after the New York City terror attack, a North Carolina man is accused of recruiting for ISIS. Federal agents say that Hussein Gul pledged allegiance to ISIS online and sent as many as 13 people overseas to support the terror group. The FBI had been investigating him since 2014. Prosecutors say that he also married several women to obtain citizenship, and that he lied on official forms about his connection to terror. So how can all that happen? Lots of questions. Well, this disturbing political ad shocked the nation. We showed this to you, and the Democrat that it supports says he did not sign off on it. But now there is new proof that his campaign may have actually been involved. Well, Virginia gubernatorial hopeful Ralph Northam denies approving the ad, which shows a truck chasing minority children. But records show that the campaign received an in-kind donation for, quote, media purposes from the Latino Victory Fund. That's the group behind the ad. And to qualify as an in-kind donation, the candidate or the campaign must request or suggest it. Well, it is known as country music's biggest night, and the CMAs want to keep it that way about the music. Well, the awards show hosted by Carrie Underwood and Brad Paisley is next Wednesday night, and reporters covering the event are now told to stay away from asking questions about guns, politics, and the Las Vegas massacre on the red carpet. The rule meant to keep the artist comfortable. That's a quote. We'll see if that happens. Meantime, Ivanka Trump praising women's entrepreneurship during the World Assembly for Women in Japan, just days before her father's trip to Asia. President Trump's oldest daughter, who also serves as one of his advisors, has made women's issues her signature policy.
Today, we are redefining success. We are helping to shape a more realistic and complete picture of what it is to be a woman who thrives and who helps her business, community, and family do the same.
Well, Japan also rolling out an all-female security guard to protect Ivanka Trump. Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour. And forget weighing your luggage, the airline that now wants to put you on the scale. And it turns out the fix was in for Hillary Clinton. We were just talking about that. Some bombshell accusations that the DNC rigged the nomination. And now the president is demanding an investigation.
It's illegal, number one.
Totally unacceptable, and I believe could potentially be money laundering.
So should the Justice Department take action? Your response is up next.
She ain't got your love anymore.
Lots of rumors swirling around the DNC and the election this morning. A live shot of New York City for you. While you were sleeping, President Trump actually demanding an investigation into some of those rumors, scathing allegations that the DNC rigged the nomination favoring Hillary Clinton. Democrats also now ripping their own party. Jackie Banez is here with reaction. So folks jumping ship, all kinds of stuff happening.
Yeah, I can't help but smile. That was a great song. Rumor
wasn't
has
it?
For this morning. Yeah, well, the system was rigged. Those are the bombshell allegations from the former interim chair of the Democratic National Committee, Donna Brazile, scorching Hillary Clinton in a new book about the 2016 election. An excerpt from the memoir published in Politico says that under her predecessor, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, quote, the DNC was rigging the system to throw the primary to Hillary. Overnight, President Trump demanding an investigation, tweeting, this is real collusion and dishonesty, major violation of campaign finance laws and money laundering. Where is our Justice Department? Our commander-in-chief also sitting down with our Laura Ingraham, wondering if the media will cover these new revelations. Listen.
It's a major story. Now, I don't know if the mainstream fake media, because they are fake and phony, but I just don't know if they're going to pick it up. But I want to tell you, that is a big story, what she's saying. It's illegal, number one, and it's really very unfair to Bernie Sanders.
It's a huge story. Earlier, we asked you, should the Justice Department launch an investigation into claims that the Clinton campaign rigged the Democratic primaries? Well, your comments pouring in as usual. Most of you agree with President Trump. Ronnie on Facebook saying, if HRC isn't prosecuted, I fear we as a country will lose all faith in our judicial system and create more trouble down the road. Darlene also agrees, posting on Facebook, absolutely, yes, yes, yes. Stoney writing on Twitter, looks like Hillary pulled out all the stops and has a lot of splaining to do. Don on Instagram says, I think they will. Hillary stole the nomination from her own party. And Peg writes, of course, I would like to see it done immediately. Stop wasting time. Of course, thank you so much for your feedback. This was a very lively conversation, and some people throwing it out there, was Bernie paid off? He kind of hung his head a little bit during the campaign, and so they were wondering maybe if Hillary got the nomination or won, would he have a spot in her cabinet?
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things swirling, rumors, as you were
Interesting,
saying.
yeah. Well, rumors, yeah.
Yes,
He
rumors.
did say that he was being mistreated and people, or, he wasn't being supported and people didn't really believe him at the time, but then he did back off. So that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much,
You're
Jackie.
welcome. Happy Friday.
Yes, you too. Have a great weekend. Well, stop, drop, and roll because your fire extinguisher might not work in an emergency. This is important to know about. Tracy Crosco from our sister network, Fox Business, here with the recall that could impact us. What do we need to know, Tracy?
Good morning, Heather. Yes, this is a big one. 40 million fire extinguishers recalled by the Kidde brand because, as you said, they may not work in an emergency. So now they may become clogged or the nozzles may come off too forcefully. Now, Kidde is recalling about 134 models that were made between 1973 and August 15th of 2017. So if you have one of those fire extinguishers, definitely check it out.
Now, okay, this next story, I can't imagine that this is going to last very long. And is it really what it seems? One airline, forget weighing your luggage, they want to weigh us?
It's not, they are weighing passengers, but it's not quite what it seems. It is for a good cause, and this is Finnair. And they're asking passengers to keep all of their clothes, their outerwear, their luggage, and they want to weigh you as a whole because they're trying to get accurate calculations for fuel for their planes, and they haven't had these numbers since about 2008, so they want to get that most accurate data. So far, they've had about 180 volunteers out of the 2,000 that they're looking for.
Yeah, I would not be volunteering for that. All right. So if you do volunteer for that, you don't need to be doing this, eating candy bars. But Hershey's has a new one.
Yeah, so this is called the Hershey Gold Candy Bar. There it is on your screen. First new candy bar from them in about 20 years. And it's a caramelized cream, which they describe as buttery sweet. It's got peanuts and pretzels. And it will be released next month nationwide. It looks pretty good. And it's joining, the original Hershey bar, the special dark bar, and then the cookies and cream. So this is a new one for them.
Is it gold colored?
Yes, it's a golden, caramelized cream.
Huh.
I'm not, yeah.
Kind of like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
There you
the
go.
gold ticket.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks, Heather.
Well, the time now is about 10 minutes until the top of the hour. And Twitter leaning left during the election. No surprise there, but hiding hashtags against Democrats. So can they really self-police, or is it time for the government to step in? Our next guest weighs in on the selective censorship. Have been accusing the Democrats of conspiring. I should say the Republicans have been accusing the Democrats of conspiring with Russia to rig the election with a flood of fake news online. But a brand new revelation shows that the Democrats had Twitter doing their dirty work, actually. Here to weigh in is Patricia Lee Onwuka. She is the Independent Women's Forum Senior Policy Analyst, and she joins us now with some more. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Sure.
So let's take a look right off the top. The tweets that Twitter hid, nearly 50% with the hashtag DNC leak and 25% of hashtag Podesta emails. So it looks pretty obvious that there was some shenanigans going on the part of Twitter.
And it's interesting. At the time, Twitter denied that there was any wrongdoing. They claimed that they did not hide any tweets. But Twitter followers, they responded. They created enough backlash, and the very same hashtags that disappeared suddenly reappeared 20 minutes later. I think what this raises is an issue about tech companies and social media companies in general, whether they are really neutral platforms, as Senator Ted Cruz said yesterday, or whether they reflect the biases of some of the people who are in leadership and some of the people who work for them.
Yeah, and it was really remarkable. We can pull this up. This is what Twitter's general counsel had to say the first day of testimony. He said, we found that slightly under 4% of tweets containing hashtag Podesta emails came from accounts with potential links to Russia. With respect to hashtag DNC leak, roughly 2% were from potentially Russian-linked accounts. And it's just interesting because you had the Democrats accusing Republicans of Russia collusion, and now we have, what appears to be Twitter taking it among themselves to, support Democrats in this.
It's really sad. I mean, I think it underscores the fact that social media is positive, but it also has some ways that can be used for nefarious purposes. I want to highlight something interesting. This is not the first time that we've seen a technology or social media company, unfortunately, silence or censor conservative voices. Facebook had this problem last year when we found out that a former staffer admitted staff would suppress conservative trending topics, things like CPAC, which is kind of the gathering, the conservative nerd prom, so to speak. And so this is not the first time we're seeing this. The question is, how do we ensure that it doesn't continue? These platforms, which are so powerful, should be a neutral place for people to share their ideas.
How do we do that? Because as you just said, we already knew that this was happening. It's already been spoken about in terms of Facebook admitting doing certain things. And now we have Twitter. Another example is shutting down certain people's accounts while allowing others to continue.
Well, you're going to have Congress who are going to say, well, let's pass some legislation. I'd be careful about Congress being able to determine to be the police, the speech police online. I think these companies can continue to try their best to police their internal workings, but I think they have to consider the people that are a part of their offices. I mean, are their staff just people who lean toward a certain political side, or are they really inclusive of political philosophies that are Republican, that are libertarian, that are conservative?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I would like to see more of.
All right. Thank you so much, Patricia. We appreciate having you with us this morning. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. And we will be right back, so stick around.